Hey everybody, video here for you today. We're going to document 4 ancient American sites in Louisiana. And a lot of these sites that I make videos on, I can show you what the mounds look like today, preserved, maybe a park at the site, artifacts, maybe some museums, some old pics, city site plan. Well, for every one of those videos I make, there's at least 1 or 2 places that have been totally lost to history. We're going to go down and look at 4 of them today that have been pretty much lost in Louisiana. Can't show too much. So 4 of them in about 5 minutes here. First one, the Balmoral site right down here. You can visit the Balmoral Mounds on State Route 65 here. There are 3 mounds remaining. You just kind of have to use your imagination of what this city looked like when it was flourishing. But here, just sitting out there, these 3 mounds. Say these were built around 1,300 years ago. Notice here, one thing stated about these is they kind of form an equilateral triangle, probably on purpose by the builders of these. Coles Creek culture, about 700 AD, they say. Here's a sign at the site. Talks about the 3 mounds, equilateral triangle. Also says these were built approximately 1000 AD. And that's just a big generalization they have about a lot of these mound sites. Let's move on. The Balmoral site is in Tensas Parish. Now we're going to move up to Morehouse Parish for our last 3 sites I'm going to talk about today. This is just west of Poverty Point. This is called the Jordan site right down here. Some of this still remains, the mounds right under these trees down here. This is a place that Squire and Davis visited in the mid-1800s, made a diagram, but this is where the site is today, and it looks like there is a big mound still under here, just kind of lost under the trees here, but you notice it right there. Very big mound under these trees. This place is on private property, probably can't get to it, but I'm going to document it today. Right down here is where they noted the city here. Here's their diagram of the area. This must be right here, the big mound still in the woods. There was an embankment. There was irrigation channels in this area for farming, they assume. They say this was built only about 500 years ago. Do I trust that dating? I always have questions. Seems one thing is put out, and then that story is stuck to, but they notice a pond down here, big embankment around it. Quite a few mounds in this area here today. Well, that's about all we have. They say the site was on an old relic of the river. The river systems are pretty far away from this site. I guess 5 centuries or so, if the dating is correct. Branch of the river cut through here. But today, this is just kind of lost under the trees. But a city once existed here, platform mounds. And from that look right here, it looks like a pretty good sized one existed right in here. There you can see it real good right there. Next site we're going to talk about is the Venable Mound, just north of the Jordan Mound, just northwest of Poverty Point. It's right down here. The Venable Mound is the last remaining of 3 mounds that were once at this site here. You can see it on Google Street View perfectly right here. Not a bad sized mound, but the other mounds that were right over here have been totally plowed away. Here's the information marker. They say this got going around 1,200 years ago. 140 by 140 feet at the base, 50 by 50 feet at the summit. It's the largest of 3 mounds that once stood here. The other 2 mounds have been erased by the hands of time. This place today, well, just kind of a lonely island out here in a sea of farm fields. Next site we're going to talk about is just north of the Venable Mound right here. It's called the Caney Bayou site, but this comes from a totally different time period, but it's less than a mile away. Here's the site right here, the Caney Bayou Mound. This is right on Knox Ferry Road. They do have a little sign down here, but this is pretty non-distinct. Just a slight rise here. Gives you an idea. There once was a mound here. How big was this in antiquity? Well, who knows? But that is the Caney Bayou Mound right there. Here's a sign. The Caney Bayou Mound is the oldest known Indian mound in Morehouse Parish. Sediment analysis and stone tools found here suggest this conical mound was constructed at least 3,000 years ago. But is that even accurate? says today the mound is only about 5.5 feet high and 130 by 165 feet at the base. Over the years, plowing has reduced the height and the shape of the mound, and that kind of goes without saying. It says no trespassing. This is on private property. I did find this one website here on the Caney Bayou Mound. They have a topographical map so you can get an idea of the slight elevation rise there. It says the Caney Bayou Mound may be one of the oldest mounds in Louisiana. Caney Bayou Mound appears to be as old as 3000 BC based on soil weathering and artifacts, but you can't find any pics of artifacts from these sites. It's a little frustrating. But 3000 BC, that's 2,000 years older than the sign says. Do they just have it confused? Do people give a rip? Well, I'm not sure. That is the Caney Bayou Mound. That must be the sign we read right down there. But if the dating is correct, that's about 4,500 years older than the nearby Venable Mound. Do they have the dating right on here? Well, I question everything coming from ancient America, especially these sites that have only been looked into once or twice. Stories put out, and they stick to it. Nobody really investigates these, so that's kind of why I'm doing these lost sites also. But I hope you thought that was cool, and you all have a very nice day.